Ladies and gentlemen, this is DVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. The Russian company Urangeo, yep, the one with Ukraine in the name, that's not foreshadowing or anything, has just launched a brand new educational program for North Korean geologists. It's a 2-week crash course hosted with a National Research Technological University, and officially it's all about titanium, gold, groundwater. Unofficially, let's just say the syllabus might glow in the dark. Now, according to the official line, the course includes lectures, field training, and visits to actual Urangeo facilities. The goal? To broaden horizons and share new methods, which is definitely what the world needs. North Korea with broadened horizons. What could possibly go wrong? Now, ironically, the same Russian experts teaching those classes may soon be digging bunkers for themselves in case Pyongyang decides to apply their newfound skills to slightly more explosive ends. Now, let's fast forward to what the IAEA has been seeing. A brand new facility is under construction in Yongbyon, one that looks suspiciously identical to Kaesong, North Korea's known centrifuge site. But sure, let's call it a coincidence. Just like a burger and fries showing up in the same order. Total accident. And don't forget, Urangeo has a little history. Their whole brand is built around uranium exploration. You know who else has a soft spot for uranium? Pyongyang. Except they don't sell it, they spin it into warheads. So when Moscow says, "We're just teaching students," the rest of the world hears, "Don't worry, we're only mentoring the pyromaniacs." The Kremlin is dressing this up as a cultural exchange. Russia brings the textbooks, North Korea brings the students. It's kind of like a 2-week English course. Except instead of learning to conjugate verbs, you're learning to enrich uranium. And instead of a certificate at the end, you get a missile test over the Sea of Japan. So here's the picture. Russia is training geologists who may now know just enough to dig a missile silo. And while Moscow pretends that this is about peaceful cooperation, the rest of us are left wondering if those two rogue states are swapping more than just PowerPoints. Yesterday, North Korea was digging for coal. Today, they're studying groundwater. Tomorrow, something else come out of the ground at Mach 7. The Russian Foreign Ministry has served up another round of cognitive dissonance, courtesy of Sergei Lavrov. In his latest appearance, he calmly stated that no one is particularly insisting on the status of the Russian language in Ukraine. Then moments later, he demanded that Ukraine repeal all laws restricting the use of Russian and activities of the Russian Orthodox Church. So apparently, not insisting now means issuing demands.
И Зеленский сказал в рамках возможных мирных договоренностей, что только украинский язык, никакого русского.
Нет, он сказал, что не будет государственным русский язык, но по большому счету на этом никто особо не настаивает. Первый шаг, который не зависит ни от каких пожеланий Зеленского или кого бы то ни было еще, это отмена всех законов, которые в грубейшее нарушение Устава ООН запретили русский язык и каноническую украинскую православную церковь. Поэтому он пытается сместить фокус этой проблемы, но у него не получится.
Now let's not forget, protecting Russian speakers was the original excuse for the invasion. Since then, tens of thousands have died, entire cities have been turned into rubble, and millions have fled their homes. Now, Lavrov act like none of that was ever the point. As for the church, the demand to allow the Russian Orthodox Church to operate freely in Ukraine sounds almost satirical. Freely to do what exactly? Hold services praising the special military operation? Deliver sermons about dying for the motherland? The head of the church is not just close to Putin, he's ex-KGB. And when your clergy comes with a security clearance, it's hard to argue that it's just about faith. Now, this isn't some diplomatic slip, it's how Russian foreign policy works. It demands language rights while banning Ukrainian in occupied areas. It talks about religious freedom while turning its own church into a propaganda tool. There's no consistency here, just the usual mix of lies, revisionism, and projection. This war was never about protecting language or religion. It was about control, and now 3 years into a 3-day operation, Lavrov is still trying to spin a war of conquest as a peacekeeping mission. Russian propaganda has officially entered fan fiction territory. Their latest fantasy? French President Emmanuel Macron forced to shine the boots of a heroic Russian soldier. Yeah, really. Apparently, when the front isn't delivering wins, imagination picks up the slack. Now, according to this patriotic fanfic, the French president will one day scramble from boot to boot with a rag in hand, polishing the footwear of Russia's mightiest. Meanwhile, actual Russian conscripts are out here lacing up knockoff Chinese sneakers that said Abibas, praying that they survive long enough to request real boots.
Я считаю, что вот наши приоритеты в понимании того, что такое гарантии безопасности для России, должны быть на первом месте в любом случае. И вот эти мысли о том, что русские все схавают, вот эти даже таких мыслей допускать нельзя. На мой взгляд, это крайне важно. Хотя понятно, что компромисс, да, это все равно какое-то движение, да.
Ну, я, например, согласен на компромисс. Но пусть Париж забирают.
Ну да, и мы скажем, что мы не будем его брать. Да.
Ну, Париж, Елисейские поля нам, а остаток Парижа им.
То есть, на самом деле, понятно, что, так сказать, движение здесь может быть.
Нет, я при этом совсем не шучу, я поясню свою мысль. Изначально, в декабре 2021 года мы формулировали недопустимость приближения НАТО к нашим границам. Изначально, я помню эти кадры, когда Владимир Владимирович после хоккейного матча беседует с Павлом Зарубиным, говорит: ну, слушайте, мы же понимаем, что они делают. Они создают инфраструктуру НАТО у наших границ. А что, если ракеты полетят от Харькова? И теперь они говорят: мы будем у ваших границ, мы туда ведем войска НАТО. Они что считают, что...
Да. И вот это договоренности такие вот будут. Вот такой вот
Поэтому
мир,
мы будем
сказать,
стоять на Елисейских полях, а Макрон будет сапоги чистить русскому офицеру.
Поэтому, возможно...
Хотя сапогами сейчас...
This isn't new, by the way. In 2022, they were parading through imaginary Kyiv. In 2023, it was a week-long conquest of London. Now, it's Paris, but guess be warned. Kremlin propaganda is only looking for ways to show its Russian greatness, but it all ends up being a laughingstock for the whole world. Russian propaganda keeps fantasizing about parading through Paris. Meanwhile, their actual soldiers are stuck in Belgorod trying to Google whether trench foot is contagious. If this is the plan to restore imperial glory, someone forgot to budget for the socks. Now, the Kremlin loves a good scapegoat. If the economy tanks, blame the West. If missile misfire, blame NATO pigeons. If morale drops, blame Ukrainian biolabs. But this week, we've reached a new level of divine comedy. According to Russian Orthodox Bishop Pidirim, Russia is being destroyed by women. Specifically, women who go to tarot readers and psychologists. Yeah, you heard that right. Nope, not oligarchs, not military disasters, not the fact that your average soldier's body armor is held together with zip ties. No, it's Babalina flipping tarot cards and 22-year-old Dasha unpacking childhood trauma with her therapist that's really tanking the country. Pidirim claims that nearly 1 million people are communicating with demons, which is probably still fewer than the number communicating with military recruiters on Telegram, but sure, let's focus on a horoscope crowd.
А сейчас у нас, получается, женщины могут погубить Россию. И сейчас, пока женщины наши с вами губят Россию, те женщины, которые занимаются магией, которые обращаются к колдунам, которые занимаются всякими гаданиями, тарологи, нумерологи, психологи, которые занимаются оккультизмом, которых развелось огромное количество. Почти что 1 миллион развелось их. Это те, которые практикуют, те, которые непосредственно общаются с бесами. И именно они сейчас губят Россию. Они и те, которые к ним обращаются. Даже одного посещения вот такой бабки-колдуньи, которая может предсказать, жив ли воин там или не жив, достаточно для того, чтобы получить проклятие.
And he doesn't stop there. Pidirim says psychologists are basically black magicians. So apparently, if you've ever said the words inner child, you're part of a satanic plot. At this point, Sigmund Freud might as well be on Russia's most wanted list. Carl Jung, enemy of the state. CBT, dark magic. Meanwhile, actual war criminals walk free, but God forbid someone sets boundaries with their toxic in-laws. So now we've got a new spiritual battlefield. Forget NATO, Russia's gearing up for war against the Zodiac. Honestly, give it a month and we'll see Orthodox exercise on state TV chasing star signs off the streets of Moscow. Because hey, when you can't fix corruption, poverty, or a collapsing war effort, you might as well blame Mercury in retrograde. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.